all modified. I mean, times a million. Your sight, your hearing, your vision, your touch, everything, you still have those things. So this is not a fairy tale where people, been taught that when you die, you just pass away, everything's completely different. Yeah, it is different, but in a sense, it's all highly modified. But I smelled the smell, and the smell, I can even just talking about it right now, so I'm sorry if I pause a little bit. A lot of this comes back to me, and I still get a little emotional, but um, the smell alone is so bad. Like I can't even describe it. There's nothing you can have a thousand corpses and dead animals and whatever you want to put into the mush. It smells like Febreze compared to what I smell in hell, the way it smells. So as I'm falling. Then I notice a little light, and it was so small, it was a pinpoint of light, and I heard. And as I'm falling, it's getting bigger and bigger, and then that's when it hit me. I knew, and I thought it was a fairy tale. I'm not gonna lie, I just thought hell was a fairy tale. I thought it was a place of fantasy. I thought it was a scare tactic used by religions. I knew. I said, I'm going to hell. See, time doesn't exist over in eternity the way it exists here. So all the time that I'm falling, people say, how would you have time? Time doesn't exist the way you can't even fathom it. Eternity it has no time. So as I'm falling, I knew this was hell. And then I heard the screams of the people. Yeah, the screams and the yells of while as I'm falling, this portal, may I call it the portal, was getting bigger. You can just hear it. And I knew it had to be billions, hundreds of millions of billions of people down there. I mean, screaming, and then there's screams of gut wrenching. The same way I heard those demonic laughs, I can feel it in my gut, feel it in my soul. Those screams were worse because it was suffering. It was blasphemous things being yelled. It was just horrible. People begging for one more chance. I mean, the thing is, when you're in the spirit, you can hear 1,000 noises at one time, but you can decipher and know each one, whether they're playing simultaneously or not. You can distinctively know and hear everything. Like I say, it's hard to explain, but that's the closest I can get to it. But as I fall and I see this portal, it looks like an old cave, or like I'm entering an old cave system. Okay? And then that's when I felt the heat. See, now I'm looking back on it, it probably already was hot when I got closer to it, but I was so shocked and so terrified by everything else, I didn't pay attention to the heat until I actually got into the first portion of the portal. And then that's when the heat hit me. Top of everything. It was just a bombardment of everything. And, here on earth, in our physical bodies, we feel things separately, meaning, like, our nervous system. So if you get poked in your back, you get punched or something like that, you can feel it just kind of in that spot. But no, there, you feel it all simultaneously at one time. Pain, everything. It gripped your whole body because now I'm learning I was in my spirit body. I was so used to being in my physical body, it didn't make any sense to me. But when I felt this heat, it's a different fabric. It's a different fabric of heat. It's not like how you burn your finger here. It's a spiritual component to it because it's a different type of hot. I don't even, I'm trying my best to describe the heat, but the heat is so, it's beyond. I mean, just say if I wanted to put it on a temperature scale, I would say 12,000 degrees and up. And nothing physical here, especially in the flesh, could withstand that. So, but as I'm falling, and I enter this portal, and I feel the heat, I'm hearing the yells, it's like it's so overwhelming. And at this time, by the time I got to the bottom, I just knew I was in hell, and I knew I was going to hell. But once I passed the portal, all I remember is when I hit the bottom. I didn't feel anything when I first hit. So I'm trying to think, I was asking, was it the Lord that softened the blow when I first hit? But when I raised my eyes, it felt like I had no strength. I felt like I hadn't eaten for like months. I couldn't breathe. It was horrible. Just a feeling of just nothing. And then, but the only thing that kept coming to my mind was, and I know the Lord did this purposely, was thinking that everything that I took for granted, movement, a drink of water, just to have the ability to move my arms just freely, the ability to breathe, all the things that we take for granted, it was going through my mind. I knew it came from God. I just, like, and I knew I took it for granted. And there, first thing is I look over. See, it was dark, but I'm trying to, wonder if the Lord was making me be able to see. But the flames itself were emitting so high from these pews, like these vents from the rocks. And that's another thing too I want to add. I don't want to move too fast, but one thing I do want to add. For some reason, I knew I was still here on Earth. I still knew I wasn't in outer space somewhere. I wasn't under space. I was in a different dimension, but I was still on Earth. I knew that. I knew it's here on Earth. So the Lord is right. Hell is a place on Earth. The scriptures are right. It is here on Earth. It's just a different dimension. So as I'm looking around and I'm just already, what I see when the flames, they come up, and then you can see the illumination from the flames. You can see. And the first thing I noticed were these demons, things. They're the most grotesque, smelliest. Hollywood can't even get close to how these things look. They're so deformed. They had legs and twisted arms, but they had a reptilian look, a reptile look to them. And their eyes were glowing yellow. Some of them eyes were red. Some of them were like 13 feet tall. Some of them were this big. They're everywhere. There's just bugs. There's spiders. There's just everything. But what really caught my attention was these pits everywhere. And this one demon glanced at me, and he started laughing. But down in the pits were just people. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just people. But then I thought it was just one pit. As you really look around, and the flames illuminate all of the space around, there's, I would say, hundreds of thousands of pits. And then within each pit are thousands of people. Okay? And then around the pits, you have nothing but these grotesque demon, reptilian, or reptile-like things, making sure they don't crawl out. It was horrible. You have people who look like bone. I would say they look like bones. Some of them were bones, but actually flesh hanging off, which is incomprehensible to some people to even imagine how, but the things that I saw and the tortures that I saw is that you regenerate. So just say if your arm falls off,